We will hear argument this morning in Case 24A884, Trump versus CASA Incorporated, and the consolidated cases. General Sauer.
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the Court. On January 20th, 2025, President Trump issued Executive Order 14160, protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship.
Birthright citizenship is about slavery. It's not about tourists coming in and touching a piece of sand and all of a sudden there's citizenship.
Right after Donald Trump signed that executive order on birthright, he was challenged in court. And 3 federal judges, conservative and liberal, and a number of appeals courts blocked Trump from doing this. And they called it blatantly unconstitutional. So 3 separate appeals courts refused to unblock the orders from the earlier judges, and they stopped Trump from doing this blatantly unconstitutional thing.
The executive order's stripping of citizenship from U.S.-born children is contrary not only to the 14th Amendment's plain text, but also our common law history, this court's precedent, a federal statute, and over a century of executive branch practice.
And so, let me take a minute. I'll put some words up on the screen. My copy, my little copy, I had a smaller copy that I wore out. It fell apart. Let me read. This is about the 14th Amendment. Proposed 1866, ratified 1868. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within the jurisdiction equal protection of the laws. United States Constitution. I think the president and that bald dude that speaks for him needs to read this.
The unfortunate reality that we are facing now in America is that it is incumbent upon attorney generals to stand up and protect Americans from their president. Because time and time again, this president is acting unlawfully in violation of the Constitution, and we cannot address a more fundamental issue than the one the court is beginning to address today, than what it means to be an American in the United States. And all of the precedent is on the side of the state actors here. Time and time again, the Supreme Court has weighed in on this and affirmed that if you were born in the United States, that you are a citizen. That is backed up by congressional action. That is backed up by the whole weight of legal scholarship on this issue. And we could see how the justices began to dissect the absurdity of the United States position, that you would cross the border of my state in Washington and move to Idaho and you would lose your citizenship, that you would move from any one state that has participated in litigation and lose your rights and privileges that come with being an American citizen. It's an absurd argument, and we think we saw the justices start to unravel that today.
Yeah, that's what this is about. But Trump and his lawyers are how we say what my father used to say all the time. And I would say, Dad, they're chicken shit. They're chicken. They're not asking the court that big question. Instead, here's what they're doing. And I'll read. The Supreme Court heard consolidated oral arguments in Trump versus CASA, which is a civil rights group, Trump versus Washington, and Trump versus New Jersey. So it's state of Washington, state of New Jersey, and then 22 total states. A case about nationwide injunctions halting President Donald Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. So they're not asking the Supreme Court the big question about overturning the 14th Amendment because they can't do it this way. There are ways to change the Constitution. I won't even go there. But there are ways to change the Constitution, and they haven't done it. They haven't done it. Go to Congress, get a law, have it ratified by a number of states, then bring it back, and on and on and on. There are ways to do this. He wants to sign a piece of paper and be able to do whatever he wants, and it's wrong. Okay? This is wrong. And they know it. And they know that even this court, this crazy, I say, partially corrupt court, I don't think would approve this. And we know, after listening today, that the majority aren't going to even approve this.
I mean, let's assume that you lose in the lower courts pretty uniformly, as you have been losing on this issue, and that you never take this question to us. I mean, I noticed that you didn't take the substantive question to us. You only took the nationwide injunction question to us. I mean, why would you take the substantive question to us? You're losing a bunch of cases, this guy over here, this woman over here, they'll have to be treated as citizens, but nobody else will. Why would you ever take this case to us?
Well, in this particular case, we have deliberately not presented the merits to this court on the question of the scope of remedies, because, of course, that makes it a clean vehicle where the court doesn't have to look at the past.
You're ignoring the import of my question. I'm suggesting that in a case in which the government is losing constantly, there's nobody else who's going to appeal, they're winning, it's up to you to decide whether to take this case to us. If I were in your shoes, there is no way I'd approach the Supreme Court with this case. So you just keep on losing in the lower courts, and what's supposed to happen to prevent that?
Again, I respectfully disagree with that forecast of the merits, but...
And again, I mean, you need somebody to lose. But nobody's going to lose in this case. It's just you're going to have, like, individual by individual by individual, and all of those individuals are going to win, and the ones who can't afford to go to court, they're the ones who are going to lose.
The tools that are provided to address hypotheticals like this, again,
This is not a hypothetical. This is happening out there, right? Every court has ruled against you.
We've only had snap judgments on the merits.
Yes, of course. Of course. That's what lower courts are for. They're to block things that are patently, blatantly unconstitutional. And when the White House and Trump in his tweets, and then that pointy-headed dude says some of this stuff, that, people can't come here on a vacation and then become American citizens, and that this 14th Amendment is just for slaves, they're wrong. They're wrong. And the way the justices answered questions today proved that they are wrong.
You're violating precedent. Not only precedent, but the plain meaning of the 14th of the Constitution.
Respectfully, I think what we have are lower courts making snap judgments on the merits that ignore the fundamental principle of the 14th Amendment, that it was about giving citizenship to the children of slaves, not to the children of illegal immigrants who really were not even a very discreet class at that time. And that's the sort of argument that deserves
there were some people in Congress who argued against the 13th Amendment just because of that. Some people who argued against passing the amendment just because of that, because it would give citizenship to gypsies.
And let me share some information with you. It's about a gentleman. If you think that Donald Trump is right about, and Miller, I don't even like saying his name. I'm not going to say his name because this is my podcast. If you think they're right, they're wrong. They're wrong because I went to Wikipedia, but you could go other places, but I've read about this before. It's the United States versus Wong Kim Ark is a landmark decision of the Supreme Court, which held that a child born in the United States of parents of Chinese descent, who at the time of his birth are subjects of the Emperor of China, but have a permanent domicile and residence in the United States and are carrying on business, but are not employed in any diplomatic or official capacity under the Emperor of China, automatically became a U.S. citizen at birth, Wong Kim Ark was the first Supreme Court case to decide on the status of children born in the United States to alien parents. The decision established an important precedent in its interpretation of the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Just look it up. Wong Kim Ark, who was born in San Francisco in 1873, had been denied re-entry to the United States after a trip abroad under the Chinese Exclusion Act, a law banning virtually all Chinese immigration and prohibiting Chinese immigrants from becoming naturalized U.S. citizens. He challenged the government's refusal to recognize his citizenship, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, holding that the Citizenship Clause should be interpreted in light of the common law. The case highlighted disagreements over the precise meaning of the phrase in the Citizenship Clause, namely the provision that a person born in the United States is subject to the jurisdiction thereof requires automatic citizenship.
This court should deny the emergency application because this injunction was properly designed to ensure that the states would get relief for our own Article 3 injuries, as we suffer significant pocketbook and sovereign harms from implementation of this executive order, including from the application of this EO to the 6,000 babies born to New Jersey parents out of state every year. The U.S. prefers alternative approaches for granting that relief, alternatives it never raised in the district court below. But its approach would require citizenship to vary based on the state in which you're born, or even turn on or off when someone crosses state lines, raising serious and unanswered administrability questions, not just for the federal government, but also for the states. And it would offend the text and history of the Citizenship Clause itself. Since the 14th Amendment, our country has never allowed American citizenship to vary based on the state in which someone resides, because the post-Civil War nation wrote into our Constitution that citizens of the United States and of the states would be one and the same without variation across state lines.
Right here, babies! Right here! The Constitution of the United States, the 14th Amendment. If you're born here, you're a citizen. And all this gobbledygook about jurisdiction and lower courts and Trump wanting to break the law constantly, they still haven't brought back the other dudes that were taken out illegally. And yeah, I'm going to say it. You know, they lie. They lie and say, oh, he's a criminal and all this and that. We don't know. We don't know because they didn't have due process, because they didn't have it. We don't know who they are. And these people are doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. And it's time to stand up and take a stand against this stuff. I'm Gloria Moraga. Please subscribe. And everybody read the Constitution. Get your little copy. It's fun. It's really good.